Hi guys, how are you doing today? So today's video, I would like to bring an approach that calls humanism, or Rogerian approach, or even the third school of psychology. And I would like to talk about self, okay? Or the self. So this approach sees the self in two different ways. It divides two different, almost, if you will, entities. Um, we divide by real self and ideal self in this theory. I would like to bring some concepts before this approach and, kind of mix a little bit with how we do, how we experience these two selves in our lives. So there is the ideal self and the real self. The ideal self is believed in this theory that is the self that is built throughout of our relationships in lives. Since little, we will suffer an identification, with this ideal self. This ideal self is introjected in our lives. Even our name, where we came from, our culture, the system that we grow in. Um, you see interactions in life, our friends, the friend groups, and all this is represented by this ideal self. What is this ideal self? The ideal self is the self that is idealized, as the name says itself, that we are, you see, as an ideal, is the idea of who I am. Okay, so for example, we can say that Maria is a girl from United States that it was born in a family with two brothers, and the mom is a doctor and the dad is an entrepreneur, and she will be born in the cultivated into this idea, you see, into this system of representation. And it makes a lot of difference throughout of our lives, in our real self. In another hand, the real self is this self that throughout of our lives, a lot of us, we don't get to know, and that's a very sad thing. So the real self is the innate self, is the self that we are born with. You see, this self is our nature. You see, is the self that is really representant of who we really are. The ideal self sometimes can stay in front or represent a lot of the totality of ourselves, and the real self will be there, in the corner and kind of suffocated with this ideal self that we believe that we are supposed to be. So that is what also in this kind of approach, the humanistic approach, that builds the incongruence. You see, the incongruence of who you are. The ideal self is necessary, is a self that is necessary. Okay, it's impossible that we don't have these two selves. You see, one balances the other. However, the mistake or the danger is when one of these selves, especially the ideal self, it starts to represent and to take over the real self. And that is what really builds the incongruence and the imbalance in our lives. And these imbalances is represented by disorders. You see, the anxiety or depression, even anger. You see, it will come from this ideal way of living, is what I am supposed to be, how I am supposed to behave, what I'm supposed to look like in a maximized way. Again, I'm going to really validate that it is important that we have the representation of these two selves, and that they exist in our lives, because it's a fact they do. However, if the ideal self goes too far, it will, imbalance our relationship with oneself. So it's very significant that we observe that we are working in congruence with all these two selves, that there is unbalance with these two selves, okay? By understanding what is that I really would like to do, what is that I really feel about the situation, what is that I really wanna, how I wanna look, even like you see, even the physical aspect, you see. A lot of us, we suffer with stereotypes, you see, and then there's idealization of how we should look, and what is that that is important to do, to change, so then I accept myself, is very much part of this ideal self, and can cause a lot of suffering, and bring a lot of suffering, because we will start to, like I said in another video, to compare ourselves to people, and to lose, that authenticity of who we really are, which is the real self, and we will give us a sensation of incongruence and loss and desperation, and that is what forms the disorders. Okay, so this video will not be so too big and too long. I would like to just stop in here, and other videos I'm going to be bringing, because it's very complex, it's very rich, this subject and this theme, and I'm going to little by little being coming back and bringing more themes, and explaining more and more different approaches, and for the ones that really like the psychology or philosophy, or just learn a little bit more about how we the human nature, right? So you guys are very welcome, of course, in here, and I would like, for if you have any question, or any anything that you would like to ask me in relation to the themes that I bring, please just do, and we will see. I will answer, or even bring videos talking about it. Okay, so you have a great day, and I'm going to be talking to you next video. Okay, so have a good night, and keep yourself safe. Bye bye. Thank you.